Welcome, welcome. Yay, good job. We are on time because we've been working on this technology and we think we have it, yes? We think we have every final bug squished. We think. We'll see. Time will tell, right? Welcome, welcome everybody. Glad to be here. We have exciting things happening all over the country, so thanks for spending time with us tonight, and we really work hard to bring you worthwhile information. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube, subscribe to our YouTube, please. We're having so much fun watching the numbers go up and up and up and up, and we're glad to be there. We're so happy for this technology. The technology is amazing what we can do. We have limits, but we're just really excited. So thank you all for being out there. All over the world. Thank you all for being out there. Even like 6 months ago, we were mailing internationally, like every day, but we're mailing multiple orders internationally every day. I mean, it's just going worldwide, and I've never been to those places, so it's clearly because of YouTube. So we think that's really, really awesome. It's a great way to share and get to know each other. So thanks so much. Thanks so much. All right, so we always start with our traditional questions and answers. I get so many questions and answers on the email, and I don't really keep track of them or remember them. I just kind of answer them and move on. If a question is happening frequently, then I remember it, but mostly they're just a question here and a question there, and it's not anything repeated, because if so, we make a change, and so maybe that's a good thing, I think. But anyway, so we're happy to have you here tonight. Once we get started, we're going to talk about summer styles, and there's a lot of fun stuff we can do, or I hope you think it's fun. I've had a lot of fun making all of these things, so I'm glad I got to participate. Hopefully you'll agree. All right, so questions, do we have any? ETA New York registration. We call it ETA New York, New Jersey now because it's literally like 20 minutes from Manhattan, but it's in New Jersey. And so when we called it New York, the New Jersey people said, hey, it was supposed to be in New York. It's not, it's in New Jersey. They're a little more detailed about where things are. We say, hey, it's up there. It's called New York. So we call it New York, New Jersey because you can fly into any of the New York airports and it's very, very close. New Jersey and New York are very close together. But anyway, registration has started. It started last Friday. We're going to have a wonderful show, and as I mentioned in the email, flights to New York in late August are very inexpensive. It's not a big tourist time because everybody's getting back to school and all the travel is over pretty much for the summer. So it's a great time to be in New York. So come to our ETA in New York. And come have a great sewing weekend. It's going to be a lot of fun. A lot of fun. And you can stay a couple days and go to Manhattan while you're there and go shopping in the fabric district. That kind of sounds fun, doesn't it? It does to me anyway. All right. So question is it necessary to stabilize yoga pant crotch seam with a clear elastic tape, or is serging knit enough? I'm just beginning to sew knits and feel like a fish out of water. I think a lot of women who sew knits, even if they've sewn for a while, they feel like a fish out of water because knits are changing constantly. Knits are really changing. I personally sew with knits a lot, and I just love them. I love them. But they're changing constantly. So let me give you some logic, and then you can maybe answer that question yourself. Why would a crotch need stabilizing? Just anybody out there, why would I even think I'd need to stabilize a crotch? And if I needed to stabilize the crotch, why wouldn't I have to stabilize the rest of the pant? Why is a crotch somehow different than the rest of the pant? If the fabric or the knit won't hold up to a curve or sewing a curve, why would it hold up the rest of the pant? So I've never thought that it was necessary to stabilize any seam ever. I've never been a stabilizer of knit seams, but I know some of you out there do it, so I don't clearly want to be offensive to you, but at the same time I think it's completely unnecessary to have to stabilize any knit seam for any reason. Okay, just an opinion. Everybody has one, right? That's mine. So I would say no to that answer. And with knits, look, what's going to make it easier tonight, we're dealing almost everything we have. Actually, everything we have is knits. Maybe a couple things we don't, but knits are just a big part of our life, and so they're fast, they're easy, and I mean, once you turn the corner, I do think it's important not to buy cheap knits, and I know, you say, what's a cheap knit? Just know your sourcing. Know your sourcing. If you buy a knit from us, you know it's going to be a quality knit. I sew on it generally before I ever put it up, so there's been some fabrics that I've sewn on, and I've said, hey, this is not going to work. It's just not a stable product, and my guys, New York, wherever I buy the fabrics from, they'll always take them back. So it has to be a decent knit, or else you start to think it's you, and it's not. It's completely not. It's the knit. Some are not stable. Okay, how we doing? No more questions? Everybody out there is just speechless or tired, or has their mouth full of an appetizer or something. We're serving appetizers tonight too, right? We ate all ours. All right, still no one. All right, can we talk about the Corvette for a little bit? Look, many of you, because we've shipped many of these this week, many of you have these. They're so cool you can't really even hardly see them. But look, they don't break. You know what I noticed somehow in using, because I've got a couple now all throughout my sewing rooms and workshops, is somehow because they're more flexible, they're a little easier to handle. I don't know. I know that doesn't make sense logically, but simply because they I don't know what it is. They're quieter for sure. They're way quieter just because the material's different and how that hard plastic kind of was real noisy. Anyway, I love them. They're dark purple is the writing. We love our Corvette. We just really like it. So if you've been putting off, get your Corvette. We'll get it shipped out right away. We've literally shipped them to New Zealand, across the world, almost halfway across the world. But anyway, and I think that I've gotten so many emails just embracing the idea of what we did. So we're very excited that they're done, they're shipped. Everybody should probably have them by now, and we're excited. All right. We're good? Okay, let's get started then. We're going to talk about summer styles tonight. I'm going to talk about summer trends, and I want to give you pattern and fabric ideas. Tonight is I did pattern work, don't get me wrong, but it's really more of an idea webcast to get you motivated to see what you want to make and what you want to do. And I think whenever I go shopping, I'm always looking at new, I'm always looking at prices, I'm always looking at, what can we do at home. But it's just more than price. For me, it really is. I bought a top a little while ago. A little bit later on, we're going to make this top. And this top, the original, this is a Michael Kors. I love this top. I bought it several years ago. It's a rayon knit. I've worn it to death. Literally, like, it has holes in it. It has holes in it. And so I wanted to make another one. And so I did, and I'll show you that process. But I think sewing just really enables us to do exactly what we want, and it enables us to have such freedom to change things up and to do things the way we want. And I think that's just terrific. All right, so our goal tonight is to excite you, empower you, and help you recognize that, gosh, you could just like this, put it together, and go from there. So many of the questions that I get are really I think you know the answers, you just kind of want a backup, but also they're really more style questions. The pattern rules I think we're becoming more and more familiar with. Tonight I kind of took it up a notch to give you a little more challenge, but I made lots that was right according to the pattern with no changes, and just lengthened it or shortened it or did something along those lines. So there's lots of ideas for tonight. I made six different outfits. So and there's parts of me that say to myself, well, I should add up the time it took to sew those outfits, and yet I think, gosh, it's not really about time either. It's really just about enjoying the process and having the freedom and combining that all together, and then sneaking in a little hour here, an hour there for us, to reward ourselves, I guess is what it's all about. But all in all, you guys must know I really enjoy sewing. Our pattern of the month this month is 514. We did last week's, 2 weeks ago, the webcast was all about 514. I used 514 tonight, just not as extensively. And then we have a little summer collection of patterns. We called it the summer grouping, summer group. So we did 3 patterns. The reason we did it is tonight we're doing summer ideas, summer trends, and I'll start that here in just a minute. And so 4000 is a good basic, and 2010, which is the yoga skirt, good basic. Next 2 weeks, we're going to be doing culottes, or bottoms, culottes and bottoms, and I've got lots of different culottes that I want to share with you, and we're using 3100 as the base. So what we did is we grouped those 3 patterns together for $29.95, and that's available tonight, or it's, we put that up today, so you can look at those, and those patterns will take you a long way in all the different things you're seeing. And then I used an additional 4 or 5 patterns, but again, they can be changed and worked up depending on how you want to do it. Okay, so I'm going to start with our swing dress. And our swing dress, I know for as many patterns as we've shipped out, you all know this pattern. So I'm going to kind of bring these forward as I talk about them, and then I'll push them back as they're done. So this is our swing dress. I lengthened it 8 inches. One of the strong trends for summer is a maxi dress. And I was one of those a couple summers ago who said it's never going to happen, I'm never going to wear a maxi dress. And I shouldn't tell you, but I've probably got 6, 7 of them in my closet. I just love them. I just love them just for every day. They're so comfortable. But what I really kind of like, even a little bit better than maxi, is kind of a midi length. It's kind of halfway between my knee and my ankle. I really like that length. Sometimes the maxi is too long for something I'm doing and I feel like it gets in my way. But that midi length, that in-between length, is really nice. So that's what I did with this one. I added to the bottom of this 6 inches. Initially I added 10 and then I backed it off. It was just too long. So this is just a sleeveless version of the swing dress, is all it is. As I added at the bottom, I went out and continued the fullness because I wanted that fullness at the bottom. This is a new fabric we just put up. We called it Zebra on steroids. Zebra on steroids is what we call this. I love this print. I really like it. Simple little black belt at the waist. This is our little 195. It's we're going to show this. I don't know, I think I made 3 of them. I made quite a few of them. I just love them. I've gotten these down to where they're 30 minutes. For me, they're 30 minutes to make, and I've done them in different colors, and I'll tell you why. And so hopefully I'm not looking like everything I wear looks identical. I love sleeveless. I really like sleeveless. I like the look. I don't necessarily like putting a sleeve in. In many cases I do, but what I love about the little jacket is not really a jacket, but it simply gives you a little bit of coverage, and it's also so cold because all the ACs are on now for the summer, and I'm very cold when I go into restaurants or even shopping or wherever. I'm always cold, and so this is just something that I can put on when I'm cold and take off when I'm not. If I'm just running around the car and it's hot, I can take it off and I don't care. So I really like these little knit. This original was by Nick and Zoe. Somebody asked me earlier in the week where did I do them, and I couldn't tell you where I did it. I mean, it'd take me as long as it'd take you to find it. So I said the webcasts are free, but we don't give any finding of stuff in the webcast. But I do want to I'll briefly kind of go over the pattern again. So I took 195, which is the sweater set, and did it twice. So you do it and then you do it again because this is asymmetrical. And in this particular case, and like I said, I've made several, this is going to come all the way to the side. There's several different ways to wear it, or this is going to go all the way to the side. That's one way to wear it. It could be like that. Because I like the belt with this, I decided to wear this open. But in your pattern work, you're actually going to need both sides because you're going to go all the way over to the other side. And then you simply, from the base of the neck, you use your French curve and you create a design line. And it is just that. It is a design line. So nothing changes with the fit. The shoulder angle is all the same. The circumference, everything's the same. You can wear it open. You'll see in this next one I tied it in a knot. At first I thought kind of the tying of the knot seemed a little young or juvenile to me. I really like it lately. It just seems to, I don't know, cover my tummy. I just really like it. So I think it's cute, and I've done it more and more lately. All right, so with this one, I saw a dress a little while ago at the store, and it was the 4000. I mean, it was just a swing dress is all it was, but it just had this little nice neckline. I'm hoping y'all can see that. So I'm going to show you how to do that neckline. You're going to take your Corvette. We'll grab this off, borrow that off the wall again. Everybody, we did this hole just so you could put it in your wall and always have it handy. And I've had many people order two, because I think that's because they need one in one room and one in another, and I can see that's the case for me. All right, so all I did with this is, this is just, what I used is, it's, that's onyx. That's a black onyx. It's a bead. But you could use any of your necklace findings or jewelry findings, anything. You could use buttons. You could use anything. All you want to do is figure out whatever it is you want to use, how much or how long they are. So I had a long oval one in the middle, and then I have 3 little ones on each end. And I would recommend you do something little on the ends, because it's a nice way to bridge where it stops and where it starts. And I think this is just a great focal point. I just really liked it. And again, you could do any color, anything you wanted. Just keep in mind it'll, it's there for good. It doesn't change. It doesn't come out. You want to make it washable, whatever that is. But there's lots of things out there that are really low maintenance and really easy care. Okay, so this is center front, and all I did, and it's still on the fold, all I did was put the French curve on here. And the numbers I used were 18 to 21. Not very long, just 3 inches. I think that's 8. Let me grab my glasses. I think that's 18 to 21. 18 to 22, I'm sorry, it's 4 inches. 18 to 22. Now, you can get that by putting 22 at center front. You can get that several different ways. So how far you go out from center front will be dependent on the width of your findings and how you've made them. So decide what you're going to do before you make your pattern. Kind of string them all together, and then that's how you're going to decide how far from center front you're going to pivot your curve. If you're only going to put one like this, you'll just pivot your curve less and stay closer to center front than going farther out. I wanted to have a little more width, and so I added a few more things on the end. Now what I did is, and you could do a myriad of things, because I have made jewelry and I've got necklace wire and I've got all that, I actually strung it on a wire. There's a little wire inside here, but you could use fold over elastic. There's just a piping, there's a myriad of things you could use, and none would be wrong or right. It would make, as long as they go through your finding. So basically what I did is I took the wire I actually hemmed my neckline, or the edge of my neck, with the wire in it, and so the loose ends were here. Both loose ends were coming out of the front. And then I made my little jewelry, I put it on, and I have crimpers. So then I put all the extra length into the crimper and crimped it. And that's just a little tiny thing, and you have a little crimping tool that you crimp it with. But if you were doing string, you could tie it, whatever you were doing. And then just work it around to where, like I worked my finding, or my little crimper, over into here, so that all you see is this, and it's the right length. So you can't see anything else. Even if you bring it up a little bit, you still will only see the findings, because I took them into the neck edge. That's why I said if you use little ones here and here, you won't have any chance of that wire showing, because it continues on up. And again, there's so many ideas that you could do for this. I just think the sky's the limit. Now, because black and white is very classic, black and white is very traditional, I'm always saying go black and white and do something else. I did make some other colors of these little things that I could use if I decide to go black and white in another color, and I'll show you those. I did black and white purple. It's on another one. I did black and white. Oh, I don't have it here with me, but anyway, I put a couple new rayon solid prints up. Rayon solids today. They're beautiful. The coral. So I could do black and white and coral. I've got the coral under here. Just as, you know, a difference, and it would still look great. It would just, pardon? Okay. And just as a different, if you wanted a little bit of color. I like black and white. A lot of times I like a little more color on there. Can you see the findings there? Alright, so these are just, like I said, they're onyx beads, but you could use anything. I just thought that the onyx looked really rich and it looked really nice with the neckline. Okay? Okay, so any questions on 4000s? Pattern number 4000, you're going to add some length. If you don't add length, it's not going to be long enough to be like a maxi dress. And when you add length, it goes out because it's kind of like an A-line. And then what you want to do is bring it in with a belt. A thin belt. This is a belt we made a little while ago. You could do gathers at the waist, you could do a myriad of things, but bring it in. Don't leave it tent-like because you know, you'll just look from this, you'll just look too big. It's not a good look to have it not brought in at the waist. I don't care what size your waist is, you want to bring in at the waist. Okay? Alright, let's put this one away. Yes, the Corvette, what we did is we made it, it's 1/8 of an inch. So we purposely made it so that you could, it's the same width as the ones that were. In fact, we thickened it up a little. We thought we had a thinner one and we went thicker on it. So yeah, you've got a nice edge on here and you can easily use a rotary cutter, you can use a pencil. You know, I hate marking on a curve and slipping over, so I wanted it to be nice and stable. Okay. Alright, so for this one, I want to talk about the skirt first. I don't know if I can get it up here, but I want to. Because one of the trends for summer is hippie. Hippie. All the, you know, we've done retro. Hippie is really big right now, so maybe what I should do is talk about the top and go down. You know, when hippie, I don't know, maybe I'm just slow because I just said when maxi dresses came out I didn't really like those, and now I really like them, and when the hippie thing came out I didn't really like that, but now I really like it. So maybe I just don't like change, but I think I do. Anyway, so what I did is I wanted to make like a dress. But instead of doing that, just so it gave me some more options, I went ahead and I did a tank top. This is the pattern of the month. This is the one I didn't do this last week. It's the one that has the pleat down the front. And then you guys know I love those iron-on crystals. Let me move this here just a little bit. And I'm going to put this up here. I think that'll work. Okay, can you see that? Alright, so this is the yoga skirt. It is maxi length. So I actually added 10 inches to the bottom. You can always add, and then if you don't like it you can take it away. And then I just cut. And I cut just little strips all the way up, freehanded them, made them jagged. They're a mess. I love this skirt, let me tell you. It is so fun to wear, and what I like about it is it's long, but it gives an illusion of it being shorter, but it covers everything. I just really, really like it. I don't know, I should move these so that you can see. So there's my yoga skirt. Very simple. This is the brand new, that turquoise rayon knit. It's wonderful. It's just cute, cute, cute. Can be easy to work with, presses beautifully, etc., etc. Alright, so they can see the whole thing. So this is a new fabric. You know, prints are extremely popular right now. So this, I made the little sweater set jacket. It wraps from side to side. Love the colors, love everything about it, because I did some purple work a little while ago and I've got that to go with my purple as well as the blue that I have here. So that's just a yoga skirt at the top. Didn't do any changes to that at all. All I did here was lengthen. This is the pattern of the month. It's 514 and it's view, I want to say view number 2. How about that? I got it right. It is view number 2. And then I used iron-on crystals, and so many people have emailed me after they've ordered crystals and said, how do I use these crystals? You just iron them. Literally iron them for 10 seconds. I mean, you're going to cut them out in any pattern you want, but once you've cut them out, they're just a fun thing to add on. They're just a little bit of bling, but you can do as much or as little as you want to, and I think that's what I like about it. Because for me, what I've done is I just keep going until I feel like it's enough, and then I just halt. But they're just a really fun item to have. Very quick little tank top to make. This is just pleated right down the front, and then opened and pressed. And then before I did that first, and then I just put the crystals right on. I love how the blue ties it together, and the wonderful thing to me about making separates is I can so mix and match my pieces, and that was really my goal, because you'll see a lot of my colors here are all going to blend in together, and they're really nice to mix and match them. So when I'm making one outfit, it's really lending itself to several more. Okay, you're going to see me wearing this skirt. I absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. All right, any questions on that? Easy enough? Floral mesh knit is the name of this. You guys, we're seeing this knit mesh a lot. It's Nick and Zoe are using it. Bailey 44 is using it. A lot of them are using it actually for the back of a garment. You know, that's a little bit too see-through for me, but I love it as a little shell. A lot of them are doing just exactly this. Long, these kind of things, these little, I don't know, let's get a name for them. I guess they're a little cardigan. We'll call them a cardigan. These little cardigans are extremely popular. They're long, they're short. If you're going to do, in general, a longer skirt, I would recommend you do a shorter cardigan. If you do long and long, it'll have a tendency to kind of drag you down a little bit and look shorter than what you are. So watch your proportions on it. Don't get too out of control with your proportions. The fabric on the skirt is the rayon knit. I did rayon knit, and I did it matching top and bottom. And then these little slits are the 10 inches. They're 14. I added 10 and I slit up 14 inches. And actually what I did is initially I did them only 10 inches, and they were below my knee. They looked really silly. They've kind of got to go above your knee once you're going to start to slash, or else they'll just look, I don't know, they just don't look right. I actually saw this on the runway, and I don't remember who it was that did this. Just a couple guides in general do a fabric that both sides are the same color. You have some prints, and I've seen it in print, and I really liked it in print also. You have some prints that have a white back. Be careful of that, you know, because you don't want to see the wrong side of the fabric. It's got to look like it's supposed to look like this. So you can cut up, but make sure the cuts, your fabric is both colors. Make sure that your stretch, this particular fabric, this particular knit is two-sided, is two-way stretch. And so the stretch needs to go up and down because it needs to go with the cuts. I know we covered this in Factory Tips and Techniques 4. We talked about this a little bit. We did a little demonstration of, we didn't do it just like this, but anyway, in order to get them to become little cylinder tube type things, they have to have the stretch going with them. But in this case of doing the skirt, you have to have the stretch going around. So it's best if you have the stretch going in two directions when you choose a fabric like this. So be aware of that. So when I was looking for fabric, I had to have a couple criterias. I had to have the stretch going in both directions. I had to have both sides of the fabric usable so that I could do exactly that. Okay? And this was perfect. And for me, I wanted it to be solid because I felt like in a solid, I've seen it in a print, and the cuts don't show off as much because there's so much going on. The solid really shows the cuts much better. And see, they're fun to play with. They're just fun. They're only about a ½ inch. Just keep cutting. I mean, you know, you could definitely make them narrower, and don't be afraid to make them jagged because they're jagged all over the place, and I like the jags. I think it actually looks like it's part of it. So there's no hemming, no finishing, no nothing. Just serge the side seams, put the waistband on. You can see this skirt by far took me longer to cut the bottom than it did to make the skirt. So, but it was fun. I just sat down on the floor and just kind of went to town. All right. All right. Fun idea. Okay, so now here we come in, and I'm going to take this one off. Let's talk about this girl here. You guys, my goal when I do these webcasts, when I sew personally for myself, my goal is to just love what I sew. I just want to love what I sew. And so I don't just say, oh, I'll just throw this out. I look at the fabric, and this is a new fabric, and we just got it in, and I think, okay, like, what would be great in this fabric? This fabric to me, I named it Hippie Dippy Purple Haze because to me it was very hippie look, and I wanted a hippie look, and I just love the fabric. I just really like it. So let me just start on my thought process. Our goal tonight was to show you pattern fabric combinations, and so I kind of want to talk about the nature of the fabric versus the pattern I chose. This is pattern number 310. It's called Marie's Top, and on the front of the pattern we show it as just a long top. So I added 10 must be my magic number, but I added 10 inches to the bottom because again what I wanted was a more maxi midi look. I wanted longer, and that's exactly what I got. And with this, the back is a little bit longer than the front because that's just the way I designed the pattern, because it's a top and the back just went down longer than the front. Maria's a lady who was in a workshop and she had this top on, and we copied it right off her body right in the workshop at Breckenridge. So anyway, so this worked perfect. This has a little band here. You don't really even see that. It's a great print. I mean, I just love the print. I made it sleeveless purposely because I was going to make one of my little covers to go over it, my little cardigans I should call it. I love the floral ruffle. I did 3 little buttons right here in the front. I love it. I love it on. It fits great. I made no pattern changes other than to lengthen it. I made no pattern changes, and then to do it with the cardigan. It's cute sleeveless. It really is. It's adorable sleeveless, but I really like it with the little cardigan, and you can see that it would be great with several different colors as well. I could easily mix this with it as well. So the goal was to really get several outfits that kind of coordinated together and would work well. Okay? All right. Easy sewing, yes? Easy sewing. And I love this little cardigan. These little cardigans, you know, they're Nick and Zoe, I've told you that, but they're like $120 every time you buy one. And so I figured out, if you make, it takes me 30 minutes to make one. So I have to make $2.50 an hour to offset buying one. For every one I buy, I need to make $2.50 an hour to pay for that one as opposed to making it. So that's how you can decide, should I buy it or should I make it? You got to kind of figure out where you can go with that. All right, so this one now, let's talk about the one I've got on. We'll talk about the one I have on. This is, you guys know I love this fabric. It's the mesh. It's the Knight's Mesh is what it is. And so I have this top I've had for a while, and it's just like, it's very similar to this top. It's not exactly like, but it's very similar to where there's kind of a sheer fabric, not sheer, but sheer fabric over the top, and then another fabric in the middle, and then another fabric at the bottom. So what I was going for, this is 212, it's called Kors Zipper Top, because the original was a Michael Kors. What I was going for was neutrals and whites. First off, white, an all-white look is really popular for summer. I made a white leather jacket. I've worn it. I actually just made a pair of white pants to go with it. It blends beautifully. It's just gorgeous. But you know, all white is extremely stunning. It's very attention-getting. So it's a lot to wear it, if that makes sense, because it's a dressed-up look. And so you don't go anywhere without people really noticing what you have on. Which is okay, but it's just not what I wanted to wear on a webcast. But anyway, I love that white look. I love that neutral look. I just think it's so pretty, and it's so nice that it's popular because white is being blended with the neutrals, and that's a great look. So that's what I did in this look. And I don't know if you can see my capris, but anyway, so I just went white and neutral all the way. Even a little neutral belt, white and neutral all the way down. I love it. I just absolutely love it. It's so comfortable. It's the one with the zippers here at the shoulders. So you zip it off and zip it on, and no changes to the pattern at all. Just simply, we just put this fabric up. This is called, it's a white, no, it's called a, what's it called? Sorry. Knight's Open Mesh is this one. But then this one is the natural, no, it's terry. It's just brand new. It's like short loop terry cloth. Yeah, that's what it is. It's not like a terry cloth like a towel, but it's a shorter loop. It's very nice. It's soft. It's really comfortable. All right, so anyway, I already just really like it, and I've worn it all over. Okay, so now let's switch gears and go into this one. And again, because whites, so the reason I did this one first is because I made some leggings, white leggings, and this is what I will wear with those white leggings as well. And then I did a top out of the same fabric. So that's an all white, but it's extremely casual, where my white leather is a little more dressy. So let's talk about this for a minute. I'm going to take this off, and I'm going to talk about the skirt first, because the skirt is just adorable. This skirt is Nick and Zoe's. It's pattern number 2913. Very easy to make. Love this skirt. It is panels. Now this print is a woven border print, and I'm going to tell you, there was lots of things that went through my mind to make with this fabric, because it's really beautiful fabric. I think the name of the fabric is The Squares Have It. Will you check that for me if you don't mind? The Squares Have It. So there's actually 3 panels in here, but just because the way the skirt flows, it looks exactly like the original fabric. It looks like there was no cuts in it because I laid all the panels out together. To the square, I'm sorry, to the square. So it's a woven fabric. It's not sheer, but it's very lightweight. This skirt can't weigh an ounce. It's really light. It'd be great to travel with, is what I was thinking. And it's just beautiful. It's 100% cotton. It's just really pretty. So when you look at the fabric, this is what the fabric looks like, and yet with it cut up and sewn back together, it still doesn't lose the beauty of the fabric, but this skirt has a beautiful flare to it, and that's kind of what I wanted. And then the waist is just a fold over elastic and a little invisible zipper. So again, not a time-consuming skirt at all to make, because again, that classic black and white, but a little bit of twist with the green all throughout. I think it's just beautiful. I wanted something really simple for the top, and so I just went to a black top. This is Nikki's top 215, pattern 215, solid black. I did this out of the rayon knit, and it's just perfect. It's contemporary. It's just a really perfect blend together. And then if I did this with sleeves, if I wanted to have done it sleeveless, I could have, because this particular cardigan, this is called Nina's top 211, I'm sorry, 211. Let me put this back on right. It's just a stretch lace. And it's a white stretch lace. This is actually a polyester, but boy, you would never know it by even touching it, by working with it, by wearing it. I've done all of those things, and it's really just a nice feel to it. So I made a few changes to this, and I'll go over this. It has a very nice, has a beautiful texture to it. It's open, it's light. It really, I think especially when you wear it open like this, it doesn't really intrude on the fabric at all. It just really blends very nicely, and yet I could take this off and wear it over this one because the white looks so nice with that, or I could take it off and wear it with the solid blue and wear the white if I wanted it to be a little lighter. So it also goes with this one. So those basics are great, and yet to work in some prints that can really move around is really a nice thing also. Okay, so with this one, I changed it 2 ways. You know what, I'm thinking, where did I do with the pattern? No, it's not lined. Nope, that's, see? Okay, it's cut. There's only 2 changes that I did to the pattern. But I'm trying to think, what did I do with the pattern? There it is. Here it is. Hold on. Okay, I knew I brought these up for a reason. I just forgot to lay them out. So earlier we'd kind of done something similar in another webcast. I'm just going to do it again because it's easier than telling you what webcast it's in, because then I'd have to find it. Alright, so when you make a cardigan, you have 4 pieces. You have the front, the back, you have the neckband, and the sleeve. Those are your 4 pieces. So in this particular case, 2 of the pieces are changed. The back is not changed and the sleeve is not changed. But this is the front, and because I didn't want as much fullness as this have, you can see I pleated it, and pleated it. And so there I took out 2 inches, here I took out 2 inches, and here I took out 2 inches. So that's, and you can see that when I pleat it, you want to pleat it to the opposite edge so that the pattern lays flat. And I think you can see that the pleat goes from here to here, from here to here, anywhere, it doesn't matter where they go to, just so along this edge you're taking away some of that fullness. And that's the reason I didn't want all that fullness, is because I wanted to wear this with a skirt, and the skirt had fullness. So I don't want to go fullness and fullness because you just look like a Christmas tree. I wanted to keep it closer to the bottom, to the body at the top, and then allow the skirt to work itself. But it was okay the way I did it. Now also, because I didn't want this collar, if you leave this like it is, the collar stops a little below the bust, which is okay. It's just not what I wanted in this case. I wanted the whole cardigan to be more straight across the bottom. I had seen one at the store. That's kind of what I was going for. So I lengthened this 10 inches. 10 inches. And then once I lengthened it to 10 inches, I brought it right back into the bottom here. So all this right here was extra fabric. Because this is going to be an extra 10 inches, that's the collar. That's where the collar sews on. And so the actual collar needed to be 10 extra inches also. And that's it. Those are just really easy changes. I know you can do that. And again, if you look at it, it gives a real different look, because notice how long these are. And if when you're shopping and you're looking at these, the other thing they're doing is they're lowering the hem on the side seams way down. They're making them asymmetric so that they're longer on one side and shorter on another. I thought that was okay, but I wasn't crazy about it. I don't know, for some reason it just almost looked crooked. I like asymmetric. You guys know I've done asymmetric tons of times, but in this particular case where it was cardigan and it was loose and one side was longer, it almost looked like it had been stretched. It hadn't been. I mean, it was $250 little cardigan. It hadn't been stretched. I just wasn't sold on the styling of that particular cardigan, so I didn't go for it. This cardigan is 211. It's called Nina's Top. The skirt is not lined, no. The skirt Nick and Zoe's pattern is not lined. It's a very simple, easy skirt. If you wanted to line it, I would just make the same exact skirt twice, and at the waistband, that Nick and Zoe's skirt is, this is just fold over elastic at the top. There's a invisible zipper in one of the panels, and then fold over elastic is how you finish it. I would just make the whole skirt twice with lining fabric, and then just connect them with the fold over elastic. Connect them at the invisible zipper, and then connect them at the fold over elastic. 2913 is that pattern number, yeah. Just cute stuff. Just cute. I like all my outfits. See all this fun? I get all these outfits. Okay. Questions? How we doing? Okay. Alright, so I want to talk about now the top I had referenced it earlier that I had bought years ago, Michael Kors, because it is a step up in pattern work. It's not hard as much as it is very time consuming and not tedious either, but yet it'll take you a little while, and you do, repetitive work. So I want to go through that and show you what to do. Okay, you ready? Clear your head. Everybody okay? And I'm going to reference this top, and then I'll reference what I did. And I haven't completed the top because you're better off with me not completing it, because you can see more parts if I haven't completed it. If I'd completely done it, then I figured you wouldn't have learned as much. Okay, so I just love the top. I don't know what it is about it. The fabric, the color, the style, the styling. I just love it. Now I used the base was $195. $195, because if you notice all of these slashes, nothing is into the French dart. You could still have a French dart over here and it would work without any problem. So $195 was a no-brainer where I started, and that was my beginning pattern. And so I traced the $195, and I was going to make mine sleeveless because I'm going to make a little cardigan that is the same color that goes over it. I think it'll be a great look to have the two coordinating color wise, and I liked it better than putting a sleeve on this, and I wanted to wear it where I wouldn't necessarily wear sleeveless things, so I wanted to, you know, wear it anywhere I wanted to go. Sleeveless to me is a little bit limited. I think I'm probably old-fashioned to that because I see everybody on the TV news wearing sleeveless. I just don't care for it, so that's my little personal hang-up. Okay, so I copied the sweater set on the front and the sweater set of the back. Now, because I measured the base of the neck to the bottom, it's 4 inches longer, so the first thing I did was I added 4 inches to my length. The next thing I did is I measured the width of the shoulder. Now, keep in mind, I had a garment to go by and that I really liked, so I was modeling the differences between this and this. This is fit, but this is styling. So in this case, the shoulder seam needed to be widened by 1 inch. Because when I have this on, it just comes a little bit over the edge of my shoulder where I, you know, not a sleeveless, but not like a cap, it's not that far, but it's just a little bit. So I liked the width with it, I was okay, so I widened the sleeve to make that. I copied the armhole and widened it. When I widened it, I just brought it back down to the same place here. There's not a sleeve to attach, so I didn't have to worry about it. Can they see what's going on here? Okay. Okay, then they notice the V-neck. Now on this mannequin, this little V-neck is a little bit low. It's not on me, and I love the V-neck. So what I did, and it's lower in the front than it is in the back, so I went ahead and took my Corvette, I put it onto the V-neck, and I'll give you the numbers. It goes from, hang on a second because I want to get this accurate. It goes 9 to 18. 9 is at the base, 18 is here, center front. So 9 to 18 is where I drew in the neckline in the front, and then the back you can see it's higher, and in the back it goes 18 to 12. Okay, 18 is at center back, 12 is at the base of the neck. So the V-neck in the back is higher than the V-neck in the front. There is a seam down the center front. There's a seam down the center back. That is for the facings. You guys don't have the advantage of seeing the garment, so I'll try to explain. That is for the facing. The finish on this garment is simply serged and turned under on the armholes. There's a facing in the front. I'll get to that in just 1 second. Okay, so what I've got now is I've got the length I need it to be, I've got the V-neck, I've got the width of the shoulder. The next thing I needed was to have the fullness, as to how much fullness is at the bottom. So I measured the bottom of my pattern, it was 9, and the bottom of each piece of this was 14, so I needed to add 5 more inches in each panel. Don't even worry about that yet, but you gotta know that. We're going to put that in your head. And then I measured each of these tucks. Now what these are is they're little tucks, and they're 1 inch. They're each 1/2 inch, but double makes an inch, and there's 7 of them. So all I did was lay them down and mark 7. And when you're doing the width of the shoulder is 5, you're going to have one every, you know, it's not deciding where to put them. You have to have one basically everywhere you can, because by the time they add up, it'll equal your 5 inches. And if you notice the cuts, follow the neck edge, and then they come down, and they're stitched, you probably can't see, but they're stitched about 3 inches below the bust point. And then carry them through to the side seam, and they're stitched to the same place in the back. So they still form a little bit of a pleat below, a tuck, but they're only stitched to this point right in through here. Okay? Okay, so then I started my, well, once I had the shoulder width, once I had the neckline drawn, I drew the front facing. Okay, and here's my front facing, my front and back facing. This is what it's going to look like. So before you add all the gathers or everything, trace that. That's the back, that's the front. So you can see all I did was trace the neck edge. I took it down 6 inches front and back. I'll show you how to sew it in a minute. And then I sewed it at the shoulder seam. So that's going to finish out the neck edge, and then it's going to turn to the inside, and it's going to get anchored into the stitching to where you can't see it, but it will finish off the neck edge. And that's because the neck edge is, you know, you couldn't just serge it and turn it under. It just wasn't going to work, and that will do beautifully. So make your facing for your pattern actually before you start cutting it. Alright, so here's what the pattern looks like. Okay? Okay, so the cuts are across the top, like I said, but they have to be an inch between each cut. That's how much you're opening it up. You're slashing all the way down to the bottom. Because there's 7 slashes, you're adding 7 inches across the top periodically. Across the bottom, I'm adding 5 inches. So all I did was, and when you ever do this in pattern making, you guys do what's called a guideline. And the guideline is so that you'll line up the pieces. You know, when you literally cut them all apart, you don't know how to reference them back together. So before you start, you draw a guideline that goes through all the pattern pieces onto the paper as well. And that way, that's how you align each piece vertically. Horizontally, you're separating it, your 1 inch and your little bit down here. But vertically, now I used my guideline as my stitching line is what I did. So I came to the point that I was going to stitch it. And in this particular case, the stitching for the back is 4.5 inches below the armhole. That's a good reference point for you guys. 4.5 inches is as you stitch them, and then you stop, and then you let the rest be released. You have to add fullness at the bottom, so 7 inches up here, 5 inches down here, and then I just taped everything down. So it's really very easy. It just takes time and ideas. You'll need to add width all the way, because otherwise a lot of times we leave the pivot points down here. You'll want to add some fullness through the hips. Oh, it takes 2 yards if you're going to do the top. Even though it's sleeveless, it's still going to take you 2 yards. Even if you want to add sleeves, it'd still take you 2 yards, because you can't get 2 of these pieces on the width of fabric. You can't get on 60 inches. I tried. I had to do a recut. No, this has to be a knit. Has to be a knit. You won't be able to get it off and on if it's not a knit. Has to be a knit. Thanks for clarifying that. Okay, now in this case right here, this is my neckline here. This is what my facing looks like. So you can see I traced my back down to here, and I took it, you know, down about 5 inches, and then just made it 2 inches wide and came back up. So that's my back facing. I just wanted to show you that. Okay, and then I did the same thing for the front. Okay, so same exact thing, 7 places. I marked this. You want the 7 places to match at the shoulder seam from the front to the back, because once they're all stitched, they're going to sew together, and you're going to want them to align themselves going over the shoulder. And then again, I added 5 inches, but you see it's completely free of the French dart. The French dart's not going to make a bit of difference, but the French dart's going to give you great fit and great styling. I just love this, you know, love this idea. Okay, and then here is my facing of the front V-neck. And so after I'm done sewing all the pleats, I'll make the facing and finish off the neck edge, finish the armhole, and hem the bottom. So it's not a complex top as, well, I mean, it looks complex. It's fun though. Isn't this fun, you guys? If it's not fun, you can say, nope, we don't want to do that anymore. This is not fun. Okay, so then I started sewing. And this is the new coral rayon knit that I started using. And what I did is I sewed this side here and pressed it. This side I sewed without pressing it, because you're going to see when you sew it, it's kind of going to go cattywampus until you press it. But this is the back, and you can see the V-neck there, and you can see the bottom just releases itself. Isn't that pretty? So excited. And then when you cut the front, I've got too many things on this board here. This is what it's going to look like. You're going to say, what have I done? But promise it'll come back together. There's the front. All I've done here is sew the French darts. And so as I take up these pleats across, they'll all come back in together and fit exactly like they did before. And it's going to be just beautiful. Okay. I would definitely not go too thick of knits. That's why the rayon knit is perfect. It's really just perfect because actually if you look at this where I've sewn it, you actually end up with 3 layers of fabric on each pleat. So yeah, if you choose the wrong fabric, first off, your bust is just going to look gargantuous. You don't want that. You want a thin fabric, and it does need to be a knit. So just kind of keep that in mind. I would love Michael Kors to come back and make some more, but he's not going to. So in the meantime, I'm going to make my own. But this way it gives you guys an opportunity to make a great little top, practice your pattern skills, and get a great top out of it in the meantime. And because I was going to make a little cardigan to match, I think it's just a perfect combination of being able to have a great top and then just something on top of it when I want to. And do it with like a really nice pair of white capri so it's summer and fresh and it's really nice.
Is there a reason you have the center front and back seam?
I think that's a great question. The question is there a reason there was a center front and center back seam? And I contemplated that for quite a long time. And I honestly think that it is for sewing. There is no reason why you would need it. But for stability, when I was actually sewing all the pleats, it's so much easier marking wise to have that center front seam and center back seam. Otherwise you're just kind of sewing in the middle of this big piece and it's really hard to mark it. So you could do without the seam in the center front or the center back. There's no pattern reason. The other reason I thought about was possibly it anchors the facings down a little bit better. You know, that could probably be argued that you could do it another way, but you know, I can't get inside their head, I'm not sure, but my guess is it really made it a little bit easier. It definitely makes it easier for pattern placement because I'm free to place the pattern with a seam wherever I want it and I can save fabric by not having to be on the fold. So there's no question it's easier from that standpoint. But other than that, you would not have to have the seam in order to carry it out. Okay. How do you mark the pleats? What I did when I cut it out, let me go back to this little piece right here. This is the front that I haven't sewn yet, and you can see I've just got little cuts along the shoulder there. So the first pleat is that big 1 inch, and you fold it halfway together, and you're sewing the pleats to the outside. You're putting the wrong sides together. So you just go all the way down. Just take a 1/2 inch, and once you've picked a 1/2 inch, continue on down. So I marked it at the shoulder, and then I marked where you stop stitching. I drew a line on the inside with just a real light chalk line as to where I stopped stitching. Once you have, what I noticed with the back when I was stitching the back is once you have one stitched, you can copy that all the way across. So you could just put a pin in. It might be a little easier. How far did I sew them down? I sewed them 4 inches below the armhole on the front and on the back. So I'm going to go back to my pattern for a little bit. Here's my armhole. Here's where the armhole stops. I didn't cut that out, but anyway. And then here's my stitch line, or the stop stitch line. And that was 4 inches, I think I said. 4.5 inches, I'm sorry. 4.5 inches, front and back. They will not meet. You would never be able to tell if they're the same in the front or the back or different, but I would still think you'd want the garment to be balanced and have it look right, and so I used the same point. The original top used the same point in the front and the back, and so did I.
Was the 5 inches at the bottom just an additional?
The pleat, when you stitch the pleat, it's a 1/2 inch all the way. You don't get smaller. Keep it that same 1/2 inch all the way, and then really what you find out when you're doing the pattern work, the 7 inches that's added up here versus the 5 inches that's added at the bottom, it just gradually, once you stop sewing the pleat, it gradually tapers. It's still got 5 inches, so 7 to 5 is not a lot of difference, and so it still gives you a really full look but doesn't actually have the full 7 inches at the bottom, which is actually very flattering. So it's a really smart way to do that. The pleats, once they're pressed, are pressed out to the outside. Thanks for asking that. I forgot to say that. Let me just go back and show you this top now, and we'll do a close-up of this top. So you can see that all these pleats are pressed to the outside. So let me, oops, this side. Let me just ruffle my hand there. There's the pleat sewn to the outside. Everything's pressed to the outside. So the last pleat actually is, you know, within an inch of the armhole seam, so that it lays at just shy of the armhole seam up here, but that eventually goes in. But you can see by looking at this top, I've worn it to death. It's just, you know, it's just embarrassing to wear it in public anymore. It just doesn't look, but I love the top. It's comfortable. It's great with leggings, and yet it just gets a million compliments because it has such a nice look to it. Oh, the bonus question? Okay, yeah, we're going to have a bonus question. We're at time. Wow, that was a fast hour. You guys, I was having fun. Next 2 weeks, we're going to do culottes. I've got lots of really exciting ideas for you guys. You're going to love these culottes. And I'm not a culotte person, and I still love the culottes. But anyway, our bonus question tonight is, are you doing it now? Okay. Brett's going to do the bonus question. Okay, the bonus question is, what date in the month of June is Sewing Machine Day celebrated? What day in the month of June is Sewing Machine Day celebrated? Sewing Machine Day, is that cool? Did you guys know they have a Sewing Machine Day? It's the day you're supposed to go out and buy a new sewing machine is what it is. I think the sewing machine companies made this up. But actually, no, 1800s. The sewing machine was created 1874. 1874, we looked this up earlier. Sewing machine was first released. And I think I have one that's really close to right after it was released because it's old. It's really, really old, but I love it. Can't say that I sew on it. Who got it? Deborah, you got it already? What is the date? June 13th. It was Saturday, by the way, you guys. It's actually already passed, but you can still celebrate Sewing Machine Day all month long, right? If you need an excuse to go buy a new sewing machine, heck, you can use it. Just if you tell your husband that it's Sewing Machine Day, he'll never know the difference. You can say, hey, honey, it's Sewing Machine Day. Let's go buy a sewing machine. All right, Deborah, congratulations. So you get $50, and you should email me. If you email me, Peggy@silhouettepatterns.com, then I'll send you back a code, and that code will give you $50. All right, so we appreciate you watching. Thanks so much for being here tonight, and we will see you in 2 weeks, and we will talk about culottes. So ETA New York, don't forget, your Corvette, your fabrics, your patterns. Happy sewing from Silhouette Patterns. Good night.